Sheriff Rick Ramsay. We're in front of the Sheriff's Hangar. We've been doing a series of Behind the Gate, just to show everybody how important the Marathon Airport is to Marathon and the Florida Keys, all of us. In the background, you can see Trauma Star. We got to thank the county and the sheriff for what he does with Trauma Star. So let me turn this over to the sheriff. Sheriff, good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
You're on.
Okay, behind us here is our Trauma Star Air Medical Program. Some people wonder how or why it started. It started probably about 15 years ago, and it started in a very unusual way. At the time, the Sheriff's Office had a Vietnam-era Huey, a UH-1. Some of our veterans know that helicopter, a big, large aircraft. And we were using it predominantly then for some law enforcement missions. During that time, there was no trauma aircraft facility in the Keys. So the sheriff, Rick Roth back then, continued to see car crashes with people and our citizens and visitors alike that were being injured and needed trauma facility and needed more help than they can get at a local hospital. We're sitting in ERs, potentially dying, suffering. And we know time is life, and time is a question of whether you live or die, you lose a limb or not, pain and suffering. During that time, the local hospitals would have to try to get air services out of Miami. Sometimes it was our friends at Miami Air Rescue if they were available. Sometimes it was a helicopter called Biscayne Air, which is no longer in service. But sometimes there was no helicopter available and you never made it to a trauma facility. And or because there was no trauma facility available or no trauma air transport, they would have to put you on a ground transport and try to ground transport someone who really needed air medical evac. The sheriff and the sheriff's office seeing this and saying, we are not going to let this happen anymore. We are going to be a part of the solution versus part of the problem. We have a helicopter. If we have to load them on our own helicopter and get to Miami, we are going to do what we can to save people's lives and make it safer. So the sheriff then got with fire rescue and started our initial partnership, saying, listen, you have a crash, it's a trauma, we'll land our Huey right there in the road. But we need you to partner with us and commit to take your 2 field paramedics, load them on a helicopter, let them take the flight to ensure stability of the patient to Miami, and backfill their positions on the road until we can get them back. Fire Rescue from the beginning was a great partner, understanding this is a matter of life and death and how critical it was. So probably 15 years ago, around the 2000 era, we did start our first air medical program out of the Sheriff's Hangar behind us with a 1967 UH-1 Huey. It was a twin litter, so we could hold 2 patients, air-conditioned aircraft. Top speed was about 125 miles an hour. And we ran that program for probably about 7 years. And we flew hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people and saved hundreds of lives.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes. Once again, compliments of TV 88, the best channel in the world. And we'll bring you back, and we're going to do an interview here with the sheriff. So hang loose. Get back with us in just a moment.
It became apparent that the Keys needed their own full-time air medical program that wasn't just piecemeal together. Our leaders back then, the Board of County Commission, believed in this program, saw the fruits of the labor, saw people's testimony that they were here today because of the Sheriff's Office and the fire rescue cooperative efforts flying in our Huey, that the Commission then had RFPs put out for an air medical program. Several RFPs came back from independent contractors that the County Commission did not accept for various reasons. At that point in time, the Commissioner approached the Sheriff and said, listen, you're doing it, you're doing a great job. We want you to take this program to the next level. Instead of being a private contractor, we want you, the Sheriff's Office, to continue this, and we're going to give you the backing, and we're going to work with you to design a full-time, real program with full-time medics waiting to launch instead of just picking medics up out of the field. So we started a search for an aircraft, and the search for an aircraft was more difficult than it seems. Not a question of just buying a helicopter. Like we see behind us is a large twin turbine aircraft. It's a dual litter aircraft. It's 175 miles an hour. It's about the fastest production helicopter there is. It has an extensive range. Some people say, why do you need such a big helicopter? Well, once again, the golden hour. Within an hour, whether you live or die, whether you lose a limb or not, pain and suffering. We have to be able to launch, get to a point, could be in the lower Keys. It could even be dry Tortugas to Fort Jefferson, the park. We probably fly out there 4 times a year. As we know, that's 70 miles past Key West. By the time we're launching, flying to Key West, another 70 miles out over the ocean, landing, picking up, and then going to go from Fort Jefferson back to a trauma facility in Miami. It's a long time, it's a long distance. We cannot stop and refuel for obvious reasons of patient care, custody, control, but also we have to get to Miami as fast as we can because of the distance, thus the need for speed for a fast helicopter. Besides the fact that we have a car crash, it's not uncommon to have 2 critical trauma patients in a car crash. We don't want to be trying to pick which one are we going to save and which one's not going to save. So we want to have the ability to load a second patient on board if we need, and or a third medic. If at times we have 2 critical patients from a car crash, we may have to pull a third medic from the field. Right now we fly with a paramedic and a flight nurse. 2 medics are on board that ship at all times. But if we had 2 critical persons, we could pull a third medic from the field to augment it to make sure we have the proper level of care, custody, control based on the level of trauma needs. So the program started. At that point in time, we did find this aircraft out of Pennsylvania at a local hospital, Geisinger. We purchased it and outfitted it and put it into our program here, where it's been probably the last 8 years. It's been a very effective program. We're flying, at this point in time, we average between 40 and 45 flights per month, which is a lot. You do the numbers of 15 years, the number of people, we've probably flown 5,000 people. And when you fly in this helicopter, it's generally a question whether you're going to live or die. You, as a taxpayer, fly for free. If you live in this county and you are a taxpayer here, the service that you pay for it out of your taxes, you have the right to fly for free. Now, if you have insurance, the Sheriff's Office and Fire Rescue does come after your insurance company, but we take only what we collect from your insurance company. So if you don't have insurance, or if your insurance only covers 25% of it, we do not come after you for the remainder balance. If you are not from here and need that service, it's still available, but then we do come after you for your insurance and for payment of the services, so the taxpayers are not on the hook. Last year, we recovered about $1.8 million from insurance and non-county residents. This year, we think it's likely to be higher because last year we're averaging about 30 flights a month. Now we're up to 40, 45, thus an increase in use of the aircraft, thus potential increase in recovery efforts for those used to the aircraft. So that's kind of a little story on how it started, where we're at today, and why it's so important to our community. It saves lives, and we know, like anything else, that's expensive, but so is police services, fire, ambulance. But when you call that someone's breaking into your house is on fire, you're having a heart attack, or you've been in a car crash, you want someone and services there right away to ensure you or your family's safety and lives.
Sheriff, you know, it's amazing. Your participation in this program as undersheriff and now sheriff started many, many years ago, and I'm going to give you a little credit, but certainly without you, we wouldn't have this program as it exists now. You know, I think all of us, including TV 88, the City of Marathon, all the residents of Monroe County, just have to thank you, Sheriff. I know it's a burden on top of keeping us safe from crime, but it's part of your office, and
well, it is part of our office.
I've got to give you credit.
Well, thank you. And it is part of our office, which is kind of unusual for a sheriff's office doing air medical work. Not too many sheriff's office or police departments do that because it really is kind of outside the scope of our norm. But, you know, during a crisis, someone has to step up and be a leader. And 15 years ago, when the crisis was seen, the sheriff's office then and now stood up to be the leader and to take the right directive steps to go out on a limb and assume the risk, liability exposures, and some of the issues that are designed with a program like this. But you can't put a price of value on a life. It's critical. It could be one of us here today. It could be our families, our kids, our loved ones, and visitors. And we want a safe community, and we want to have the same level of standard of care that the mainland has here. And unfortunately, that is expensive at times. But once again, it's you got to have it. So we're glad to be a part of the solution and provide this service. And we're glad to have a partnership with Fire Rescue, who on this program, the flight nurse and flight paramedics are hired by Monroe County Fire Rescue. The Sheriff's Office owns the helicopter, the program, or the mechanics, and the pilots are all Sheriff's Office staff. So it's a really good cooperative joint effort that we work together. As you even see in the helicopter, we make sure we have the Sheriff's Star. We also have the Fire Department seal, Monroe County Fire, Monroe County Sheriff's Office. So everyone knows that it's a joint partnership. Just because we own it doesn't delete the fact that without them, we'd be nothing. We'd be ineffective.
I'm a pilot, as you know, Sheriff, and I think this is one of the only helicopters equipped with flotation so you can fly directly over the water. Isn't that correct?
Well, we fly over the water irregardless. It's a twin turbine aircraft, so we have two engines, two turbo mecha engines. We could lose an engine and still continue to fly. We lost the one engine, wouldn't put the ship down. We're able to continue our mission and land to a safe point. Obviously, if we lost one engine, we'd want to land as soon as we can, but we can sustain flight and even continue to gain altitude if we lost an engine.
That's fantastic.
So, redundancy.
I tell you what, I know you folks out there would just love to see the inside of this helicopter, and this is invaluable to not only knowing that this exists and how it can be used, and as we go along, we'll sort of give you some idea as to maybe the capabilities from a first-hand look of that ship. It's a fantastic ship. So hold on, come back in just a minute or two. We're going to take a break, reorient ourselves, and we're going to look inside this helicopter. So stay with us. Compliments of TV 88, the best channel in the entire world. So thank you, folks. Okay, folks, we're back with you again, and you know, we need to touch a little bit on the city of Marathon and the airport being in Marathon. As you all know, I sat on the council for 6 years. Last year I was mayor, and we are so proud of the fact that we have the Marathon Airport here in our city, and so proud of the fact that behind us we have the sheriff on our field with the capabilities that you see behind us. You know, his capabilities are not only this trauma star, but obviously they are capabilities that are going to be used in any kind of emergencies. You know, some of the vehicles that the sheriff has at his disposal and our disposal with our tax dollars are command centers and et cetera, et cetera. So, Sheriff, you're doing great, and how about we take a look inside that helicopter?
Let's go look inside the aircraft. Let's take a look.
Good. Come on, folks. Let's take a look.
Good. Well, I'm not a medic, but you can see inside here, we have our patient litter here, and we have the ability to put a second litter in the back part of the aircraft, and storage has a second litter. We can move this table over and put a second station, so we have two different patients on board. You'll see attendant seats on the left and right, on the other side as well. There's 4 seats for 4 different attendants to deal with your highest level traumas that may be going on. So we can seat 4 people plus 2 patients. You see all kinds of equipment, life packs, monitors, O2, oxygen, gauges. We have everything you could imagine here to check on your vitals, to keep track of you, to administer advanced life support services while trying to get you from point A to point B. So this is a fully equipped advanced life support helicopter, and we're proud of this program. We're proud of the helicopter. It's an air-conditioned aircraft. We have inside here a barrier between the pilots and the medics, because we want the medics and the pilots to be 2 different missions. We want the pilots to be focused on flying and not worrying about what's going on, people yelling and screaming, or maybe some bodily fluids that may be spraying. So we want to protect the barrier and something to try to separate this part of the operation, which is medical, advanced life support, and that operation, which is driving the bus, get the point A to point B. So we have barriers there between the 2. And then here is our pilot in command cockpit, and you can see it's a lot of gauges. It's real tight in there, but you see the number of gauges, instruments, the GPS, the terrain avoidance systems, their radars, the weather avoidance. This has almost everything you can imagine on it, but you look inside, how many instruments, how many knobs, switches, buttons. It's amazing that someone could know what everyone goes to, especially nighttime operations. You know, we're trying to stress and pressure. We're landing on bridges and in difficult areas at nighttime, and at the same time you're trying to operate this entire ship. And it's a lot, but this is a...
You know, the instrumentation in here is really fantastic, and without that kind of instrumentation, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in fog and in night conditions, as the sheriff just said, it would be useless. So these pilots are very, very well trained and very experienced. I am a pilot. I look in there and I say, yeah, I don't think I can fly that thing. I
don't
could fly
know.
most.
You could probably do it.
I'm not so sure, Sheriff. But you know, this is an unbelievable machine. It's basically a flying hospital.
Exactly what
Fantastic.
it is. In this aircraft, our pilots are all IFR and VFR, so they're flying instrument flight rules.
Yeah.
You know, our pilots are all well experienced. Majority are military pilots flying Black Hawks and Chinooks during the military operations, so we're very experienced pilots. Our pilots all have an extensive amount of time flying in nighttime operations, which is so difficult, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And all our pilots are airline transport pilots. So we have a really high expectation to receive a slot as a pilot for the aviation program here. Just like the medics, they're at a higher level. The best of the best to make sure we are doing it appropriately, making sure that we are getting people where they need to be safely. The program is a Part 135 program, run under FAA rules and regulations, so we're constantly reviewed and evaluated by FAA to make sure we're doing things right,
Sure.
following our general orders, our GOMs, and our policy and procedures. And you know, there's a lot of oversight on an EMS program.
Oh, it's amazing. Absolutely.
It really is. That's a
Absolutely.
good thing. Keeps you on your toes.
And this is available to the public 24/7.
We're a 24/7 operation. We keep crews right here in this facility, medics and pilots. And like you said, it's nice to be centrally located so we can respond north and south in a reasonable period of time,
Sure.
whether people need us in Key Largo, Islamorada, Marathon, Lower Keys, or Key West.
Mm-hmm.
And the hangar is a nice sized hangar. It's been around for a while, and I always remind people we built the hangar probably 15 years ago, and we built it not using taxpayers' dollars. We used it out of drug money, seized drug monies, so the taxpayers did not pay for any part of this facility. So always proud to remind them of that when they see some of the stuff that we built between the aviation or even the Upper Keys Patrol Station Roth building. The taxpayers didn't pay for that. We paid for that out of drug money. That was Old Mariners Hospital, since we're talking about medical. We bought that hospital and we turned it into a sheriff's office
Whoa.
to save taxpayers' money. So we try to be fiscally responsible, part of the solution, even when it comes to taxpayers' monies.
I have a feeling that my wife, by the way, says I'm very frugal. Actually, she calls me cheap, and I have a feeling that the sheriff here is very frugal with our money, and that's obvious in your budgets. You know, just a real quick one. Last week, I think there was an accident on, was it 3 Mile Bridge or up in the
Yes.
Upper Keys? And they stopped traffic, and by the way, some people got upset. You stop in traffic, and what's the story here? And I can't get to Miami in a hurry, and I'm in a hurry, and the reason they stopped traffic is this machine responded to an accident. They landed on the bridge. They took care of the accident victims and transported them, and thank God we've got this. And Sheriff, once again, I can't thank you enough for
My
what
pleasure.
you do for the
Absolutely.
whole county and for all of us here.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and
Thank
thanks you, ladies and gentlemen, for
everybody.
joining us again.